Hi, hello everyone. Let's discuss on the very important topics for the business analyst role, the gap analysis. The gap analysis we will add in the FSD or the approach note, change request document, or the BRD. So all these documents we add the gap analysis with different naming convention. So existing process, proposed solution. So that's things we add, but it is a part of gap analysis. There is the very important thing, all the research, all the product enhancement, function enhancement are the part of gap analysis. And in most of interviews, most of the interviewer will definitely ask you what is a gap analysis, what are the key components of gap analysis. So guys, I'll explain you the gap analysis in detail and how to do the gap analysis, what techniques, tool we should use to do the gap analysis. So please listen this lecture carefully and understand the gap analysis. Let's move on the first slide. So that's introduction and key concept of gap analysis. Let's first give you the brief definition of gap analysis. So basically the gap analysis is a systematic or strategic way to do or to identify the current state of system, or what are the current process are following by the systems, how the currently that system or the function should work, and identify the pain points or the enhancement or the add new process or the process improvement things or the techniques. And then we will desire the future state, how that future will work, how that system or the process in the future should work. So that's the technique we do all these things is we call the gap analysis. And the gap analysis is the difference between the where the organization is and where it to be. So the organization, entire organization, what business, what the product they are selling, what are the businesses they are, and what their product will be sale in the future, and what their businesses. So analyze entire thing and the what are the scope in that new things. So that analysis will do in the gap analysis, like in a system or the IT application. So current process of IT application, how it work, how the user journey on that current application, if we add some features or function, how the user experience will enhance, how the user will satisfy using that system. So that all thing we will do in a gap analysis. And it provide a clear understanding what's needed to be achieved in strategic objective way. So it's according to the objective goal or the motive, we should define the gap analysis technique and then do the analysis on that gap analysis things. So why it is important for the business analyst guys, for the business analyst role you should understand the gap analysis very well. So if you are understand the gap analysis, so you are able to prepare the documents like BRD, FSD, approach note, change request document. And also you are able to use the appropriate requirement initiation technique. So you maybe use the document analysis technique or the understand the Hagis process, and then you think how the to be process should look like. So so it help us. Then the problem identification, if you do the 360-degree with the gap analysis, then you will be able to understand where the exact problem, the pinpoints, inefficiency and areas of improvement. You should definitely identify what are the pinpoints and what are the areas are working correctly, but we need to improve that areas. So end user will get the better experience to using that system. And the solution definition guide the development of effective solution. Definitely that will help the business analyst to improve their the solutions, and it will guide how the system should work. And then the strategic alignment ensure the solution align with the organizational goal, organizational objectives, organizational the problem which we are going to solutions. So that will be the strategic alignment with the gap analysis, and we are drawing that document. So that should be keep in mind while doing all these things. And the stakeholder communication provide a clear framework for the discussion and the consensus. So that should be it will be help to which stakeholder will give us the what kind of requirement related to the gap analysis. The subject matter expert or the business, if you have some doubts and we open points, we need to get understanding on that point. So that will help us to the stakeholder communication, and it will, when we are using the requirement initiation techniques, so it will help us to properly draw the questionnaires or the questions from the gap analysis. If you think how the system should be work in the future, so you have the appropriate questions, so you can resolve that and then prepare the documents. And the key concepts, the more of the key concept is the current state and the future state. That's the gap analysis. So where we are now, so in the current state, what stand for where we are now, like the manual entry process, like the currently nominee detail we are fetching, like the current process of client onboarding, like the current process of order, like the current report we are displaying to the, the user or the investor. So that's the current process. And the future state to be processed, so like how the client onboarding process should be, what are the data we should take, or the what are the new field we should add in the current onboarding process. That is a to be process. How the order screen should look like in the future, so the user will get better experience. How the report will display on the user screen, so user will get the better. So that is the gap, and that is the future state. So what field we are adding in the reports, what are the bars report. So that's all these things. Then the gap in discrepancy between the has and to be, lack of integration tools. So that's the entire thing of gap analysis. Let's move on the next slide. So the gap analysis process, if you are working as a business analyst in some way or somewhere organization in IT projects, so what the process you need to follow to do the gap analysis. So first you need to identify the current state, then define the future state, then identify the gaps, and then the gap analysis process you should do and develop the action plan and recommendations and implement and monitor these things. I'll explain one by one. So identify the current state. What is the as stage? How the process or how the system is currently working. What are the current objectives? What are the current goal? What are the current processes in the system? What are the current field we are taking to understand the existing situation in detail and 360-degree way. The activities we should do in that, gather the document matrix, conduct the interview, observe the process, create the process map, so we can understand how the current state will work. And then we will move on the define the future state. So it's the most important two step. So define the future state, the objective clearly articulate the desired future state. We should define in your mind how the system should work after implementing that changes in the system. So that's the things. And what are the goals, what are the business objectives, what are the to be processes in there. So collaboration of goal, research best practices, document new recommendation, use a smart technique, to do the smart use the SWOT analysis. So all these things there, and define the future state of the system. Then identify the gaps. Where the gaps, what are the fields, what are the descriptions, what are the the technology gap. So identify that gaps, what are not in the current process and what to be the current process. So identify such things, eliminate such things. Then the objective of that pinpoint difference between the current and to be process or the future state. Then the compare the as is and to be process, list the discrepancy, categorize the priority and the gaps. So you should be clearly the table how the current system should work and how the to be system should work, and identify from the gaps. And then you should move on the next stage for that. So that is the gap analysis process. Then you will do the gap analysis, analyze the root cause analysis, do the 5W techniques, do the 5W1S technique, draw the fishbone diagram, understand all these things, why the gap is exist, why that gap is there. So to do the 5W 1H and 5Y techniques and understand in details, then conduct the root cause analysis, integrating understanding issues and risk assess to do the SWOT analysis. Okay, so and then understand the how the 2B system should work. So that's the gap, analyze the gap analysis. Then develop the action plan and recommended recommendation. The process create step and bridge the gap to draw the wireframes and prototype of the to be state. how that to be state should look like, how the user experience, and then draw the the each field description like the proposed solution for that, and formulate the actionable recommendation, outline initiation, estimate the resource and timeline, and define the success. So we will do in that all the things in the develop action plan and recommendation, and then implementer and monitor. Once that thing is done, all the above five things, then we implement that thing in a production environment, and monitor is that the gap is define the good experience to the user or working how we want, so execute the plan and track the progress and take a feedback, and then if required, then again do the gap analysis and again do the product enhancement, system enhancement, oversee the implementation, monitor the key APIs, gather the feedback, make adjustment and document the learn. So that's thing we will do in detail. So that's the implementation and monitor things. Let's move on the next slide. So the techniques and benefit and challenges and break practices for the gap analysis. Gap analysis is the most important technique, and that should be know the business analyst, and every interviewer 99% chance the acts for the gap analysis. So let's discuss on the technique and tools for the business analyst to do the gap analysis. Let's first one is the analysis tool. So he will do the short analysis, strength, weakness, opportunity and threat. So strength and weaknesses are the internal, and opportunity threat are the external factor, to analyze that factor and identify where we need to implement. Then the data he collect, the business analyst will collect all kinds of data and do the analysis on data where we need to improve the system or the process, do the benchmarking, which what are the processes followed by the competitor, how they're the process or the system, how they're the user experience, and what things we can bring in the current of the our system. So that should analyze by or also he will do the enterprise analysis, the what different techniques of enterprise analysis in the analysis part. Then he use the illustration technique like interview, questionnaire, chat session, document analysis, brainstorming session, workflow, workshops, surveys, to illustrate all these requirement, to gather all these requirement on the one page and the understanding page. So then visualize that all thing, to do the process mapping, flow chart, he draw the UML diagrams or draw the with help of the MSVGO in draw.io. Then to draw the wireframes, prototype, InVision, Figma tool, Balsamiq tool he will use for doing that thing, and then do the root cause analysis. So he will do the 5W, 1H analysis, 5Y analysis, fishbone diagram. So he need understand all these things. And then the benefits of gap analysis, guys, it's the most important. It will help you to clear understanding of needs and improve the decision making. Once you will do the gap analysis in detail and you have the exact wireframes and prototype, so you should be able to clearly understand what need and improve the decision making. And it enhance the stakeholder alignment and proactive risk management. It should be continuous process, it should be continuously we will do gap analysis and enhance the system and optimize the resource allocation and foundation for the solution design. It will help to foundation for the solution design. And the challenges and best practices for the gap analysis. The challenges will faced by the business analyst while doing the gap analysis, like the incomplete data. There may be unavailability of data scarcity, he don't find the data in the market, so it will be one of the challenge to create the data. Then the unclear the future state, he don't have idea how the future should. There is a key, the requirement gathering stage, the stakeholder not giving very well requirement, so that's unavailability of the existing documents. There, that is are the also the challenges. Resistance to change and the scope creep, we if the continuously requirement are given by the client or the requirement are changes by the client, and the process diagram, UML diagram, or the continuously upgrade the all the documents like BRD, FSD versions. So that's will the challenges faced by the business analyst while do the in the gap analysis related thing. And the best practice, define the scope clearly. At the time of requirement gathering, there should be a clearly define the scope, engage the key stakeholder, explain them each features or function, or update them the progress of the project, at what stage the project every EOD or in the morning, and use the visual aids. If there is any technical problem or the functional problem, immediately update the key stakeholder, prioritize the gaps, what are the the if there is what are the important and urgent requirements, so prioritize accordingly, be data driven, communicate the effectively with the all the stakeholders, so that should be there. And then the last slide is the conclusion and the key takeaway. So conclusion, gap analysis is indispensable tools for a business analyst. Yeah, there is no deviation. You should be understand gap analysis if you want to be a business analyst, and it provides a structure approach to identify the discrepancies, analyze the root cause, and the propose actionable solution. So it will help you in that point. So what are the proposed and actionable solutions should have the business play a crucial role in driving the organizational growth and by effectively bringing the gaps between the current and the future state. So basically, gap analysis is the what is the current state and what is the future state, where we are currently and where we want to be in the future. So that's the gap analysis, and it's the very vast and important thing. And the key takeaway from that slides is the understand as is and to be or the define process, identify and analyze the gaps in the systems, and then the how that gap we will work on that gap and how we'll eliminate that gaps, and develop a clear and actionable plan for each gap, how we do the solution or the best optimal solution to the business on that gap, and in the collaborate and communication throughout the process with, and it will help the that things. So thank you guys for attending my this seminar. I'll be help you if you have any open points related to that. Thanks. And if you have any question, so please do comment on that question, and I'll be available for help you on all these things. So thank you. Thanks for attending.